Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's talk on Armed with a Psychology Diploma. What are my career options? My name is Izzat, and I'm the manager coming from the Diploma in Psychology Studies. And I would like to welcome all of you this afternoon and thank you for taking the time to join us in this 1 hour talk and sharing. All right. Today we are quite lucky to have one of our alumni who graduated last year, Miss Carrie Lee. All right, Carrie is going to turn on the cam and say hi to everyone. Carrie?
Hi everyone. Thanks for having me here.
Hi, Carrie. So how have you been lately?
Good. School is starting soon, so I'm glad to spend my last Friday with you guys here this afternoon.
Great. Thank you for taking the time to join us. And also later on, we're going to expect Carrie to share a little bit more about her experience back when she was studying in our diploma program. So we will see you later, Carrie. Thank you. Okay, so let me just share my screen. But before we do that, we're going to launch a little poll for all of you to participate so that I have a better sensing about the profiles of guests that we have today. All right, so if you can take a couple of minutes, please complete the following poll that's shown on your screen right now. Thank you. Okay, just a little while more. Right, okay, so looks like the majority of the guests here today are coming from the Sec Force, who I'm sure, ready to take on the O-level results this year, to take on the O-level exams this year and, preparing, the plans after you get your results next year. Okay, we do have also quite a number of you who are also waiting for the O-level results, which will be coming out soon, and I wish you the very best of luck, okay? We do have a small number from the Sec 1s to Sec 3s and a couple of parents as well. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, it's good to really have a wide range of age groups and, of different levels as well. And my job here today is really to give you a better insight to our Diploma in Psychology Studies at Temasek Polytechnic. Okay, great. Right, so let me share my screen before we start. Okay, right, hopefully you are able to see my screen. Okay. Yeah, so again, this is a diploma in psychology studies, and for this particular sharing this afternoon, I'll be sharing more information about what you can expect to be exposed to and to learn in our diploma program throughout the 3 years. And also, right, aligning to the topic of today's talk, what will be your career options? So if any one of you are wondering, what's next after graduating with the diploma, I'll be sharing more of that with you later on in my sharing, right? Okay, so for today's talk, I'll be introducing to you the different areas of psychology that we cover, and also the course structure that will be addressed and described per year from year 1, year 2, and the final year as well. Okay, and beyond academic studies, after you graduate, what can you expect to do with our diploma, right? Before we go on, before I proceed on with my sharing, I will also be getting you guys to experience, okay, 2 examples of psychological theories that we cover in one of our psychology modules. One of them is called the change blindness, all right, and the other one is called the Mcgurk effect. And these 2 theories, later on, you will get the opportunity to really experience the phenomenon itself. Okay, so we're going to start off with change blindness. All right, so this particular change blindness phenomenon itself, it is a phenomenon in visual perception, okay, in which very large changes occurring in full view in a visual scene are not noticed. Now, this can be quite evident in our daily lives, okay? For example, think of a time when you are out there, especially when you're driving, for example, right, where drivers looked but failed to see certain changes on the roads, for example, pedestrians crossing or a change of traffic lights, right? And of course, to see an object change, you need to focus and pay attention to it, all right? So change blindness in the real world, certain examples can really create a very serious impact, right? Things like the air traffic control. You can imagine how much attention and focus is needed, and there is no room for errors. Okay, so people who are in this particular profession, they need to be very extra alert, right? We talked about driving earlier on, okay, where you fail to detect certain changes in the environment, and that can cause certain accidents. All right, here I'm going to show you a sample of a video that was actually done by our students, all right, as part of their assignment. And in the video, you get to see about 10 changes. All right, so see whether you can spot these changes in the video. All right, and later on, after the entire thing has ended, you will get to see the behind the scenes and see how this particular phenomenon is being created. All right, so please enjoy the video. Now let's take a look at behind the scenes. Okay, so did you manage to spot the 10 changes that were showing in the video? Well, it looks quite an interesting assignment for our students. And if you were to join our diploma program, do expect to be participating and engage in all these very interesting assignments where we explore more about the psychological concepts and phenomena, right? So moving on, okay, let's maybe just a very short sharing about what is psychology. Now, there has been a lot of misconceptions about those who study psychology can read the minds. No, definitely not. Okay, we cannot read your minds. Basically, psychology is the study of human behavior and cognition using scientific methodology. All right, scientific methodology means you will need to conduct research to explain certain behaviors of humans, and really understand how the brain functions and how the mind works. All right. And that's why you can find that in our diploma program, there will be a few research modules because we would want to equip our students with the basic knowledge, with the foundational knowledge of conducting research, so that you are able to really understand and study all these human behaviors and cognition, right? So some examples of subjects covered in the diploma program. We have the foundation psychology. Basically, is a subject that will introduce the foundational concepts of psychology. And also, I think it helps students to really have the foundation set before they move on to a more advanced subjects that we can explore in other years in the diploma program, right? We have introduction to social services as well. Okay, we have introduction to special needs education. We talk about students with disabilities, students with special needs. Are some of the common traits and characteristics? So for those of you who are very keen in exploring the areas in social services where they are very keen in helping the community, helping people at risk or in need, or even interacting with students with special needs, we will have all these modules covered for you in our diploma program, right? Of course, as mentioned earlier, there will be some research modules, and we're going to start you off with Introduction to Research Methods and Statistics, right? We also have Cognitive Psychology, and this is the module where students get to explore all the different psychological concepts and theories. Okay, social psychology is also one popular module in our course. It is a core module. Students get to really understand what motivates people to do certain things and what are some of the concepts behind individual preferences, all right, in terms of the things they do and the person that they hang out with. Okay, we have developmental psychology, of course, and this module talks about the different developmental milestones that every individual will go through throughout their stages of life, all right, from birth till death. Okay, counseling psychology. Now, this has been very popular in recent times. A lot of students are very keen and enthusiastic in, taking this subject because it really requires you and it teaches you basic counseling theories and concepts. How you can actually listen to to people who are in need, right? And this will be a lot of these theories will be taught in this particular module itself. Okay, we have community psychology. This is one of the module that is very hands-on, where students get to actually collaborate on assignments with industry partners. That means they get to be involved in a project that will deliver very, very meaningful outcomes that will be applied in the real-life settings and will have realistic impacts on the individuals in the community. So students really learn a lot from experience from this particular module. Okay, experimental design and statistics is another one example of a research subject. We have industrial and organizational psychology, the IO Psych. We also have health psychology that explore more about health issues and all that. Okay, abnormal psychology. Now, this is one subject that everyone is interested in, right? Talking about all the different behaviors that are not very typical, right? So we're going to explore that in this particular module. Okay, We also have Deviant, Behavior and Rehabilitation. All right, so this is another elective that we will be offering as well. Okay, and lastly, the assessments and intervention in special needs education. And we also have classroom management in special needs education. So the ones highlighted in blue, they are the elective subjects that we are offering to students in the diploma program. And later on, I will further elaborate this in the course structure slide. Okay, so in our course structure, basically, we have the foundational modules where all these core modules will really lay out the foundation knowledge, really, and you know, for them, for students to really have the basic psychological knowledge and concepts before they then move on to the elective concentration. So this is a part where we want students to establish their job anchors based on their interests. All right. So this elective concentration is in two parts. One is in special needs education, and the other one is in social services and community development. All right. And as mentioned earlier on, students will be given the opportunity, right, to select the elective subjects that they are very much interested to explore in. And for now, in our current course structure, we have about 5 elective subjects that we will offer in the various semesters. Okay. Right. So in year 1, these will be the subjects that you can expect to learn. All right. So some of these subjects like cognitive psychology, developmental psychology, as well as foundation psychology, these are core subjects, which means all students in a psych diploma are required to be enrolled in these modules and pass these modules in order to graduate from the diploma program. Okay. All right, so moving on to year 2, this is where students will then be exposed to a more applied subjects, okay? Not only in research subjects where they get to conduct actual research and have participants in the study as well. They also get to, work with people, whether it's in-house or whether it's external, in modules such as counseling, or even group work processes and facilitation. All right, and you can see that in year 2 there will be more research subjects that students will have to take for them to be ready when they move on to year 3. All right, and moving on to of course to year 3, we have students will take lesser subjects, and this is because in the final year of their study, they will be taking on a major project, which is a year-long subject. All right, that means they will be working with an industry partner on certain deliverables for 2 semesters. Okay, community psychology, as mentioned earlier, this will be one of the core modules that you can expect to take in the final year of the study. Okay, all right, and you can see here that in year 2, in semester 2 of year 2, students will then get to select and take on 2 electives from the diploma electives subjects that we offer. All right, and usually students will select the elective that they would very much like to explore in, right, and also to get the experience and knowledge from all these modules. In year 3, this is when they will also be taking the final elective, which is the 3rd elective. So for the entire diploma program, students are required to complete and pass 3 electives in order to graduate, right? Besides the diploma subjects, students have to take TP fundamental subjects. Now, what is a TP fundamental module or subject? It's a subject, we call it TP Fund for short. Okay, TP Fund subjects are subjects that are taken by students all over Temasek Polytechnic, regardless of which school you come from, whether it's school from engineering, design, business, or even HSS. Okay, all TP students will have to take TP fundamental subjects, and this, in order to really meet the minimum graduating requirement. Okay. Right. So now the question is, why diploma in psychology at Temasek Polytechnic. Why us? Okay, we actually provide excellent education foundation. All right, and as mentioned and shared early on, the emphasis on we emphasize a lot on two areas: the special needs education and social services, as well as specialization on research as well. Okay, so all these things we also provide students the opportunity to really specialize in areas that they are very much interested in. Right, and of course, I think research is a very important component in the area of psychology, and our diploma provides a very strong emphasis and foundation for students in this research methods area. Okay, and of course, our team comprises of lecturers who are very highly qualified in their own areas. We have a team with diverse, areas of specialization. We have lecturers who are specialized in counseling, in research, in special needs, and also in areas such as abnormal psych, or even, you talk about rehabilitation and all that. Okay, so we have a wide range of lecturers who are very much people-oriented. Okay, they are very friendly people. Okay, we treat our students as young adults, and we have a very good relationship with the students in our diploma program. Okay, so of course there are other psychology diplomas in Singapore, and we have for example, like from Singapore Polytechnic, we have a diploma in human resource management with psychology, and I think the Polytechnic, the diploma has merged into a new diploma which is called the diploma in community development. And of course, in Temasek Polytechnic, needless to say, we have a diploma in psychology studies. Okay, so these will be some of the information that you may want to consider while making your choice for which diploma that you would like to apply to. I wouldn't want to say or compare among these three diploma in psychology, but all I can say is that all the three diplomas, we offer different areas and different niche and different emphasis. We emphasize on different things. Okay, all right. So it's really based on your interests and where you would like to explore further in. Okay, so now back to the question where we talk about armed with the psychology diploma, what will be your career options? Okay, now doesn't mean that you graduate with a diploma, for example, you are not able to find any job. That's not true at all. We have students who have graduated with a diploma and they are now happily and doing really well in the workforce. Okay. For example, under the human and social services area, we have students who actually gone further to be a counselor, to be in social work area, or to be in mental health services organizations where they work with individuals with mental health issues, right? We also have those who have a very strong interest in helping in the community. That's when they actually be part of the community or social service sector. Okay, and we do have students as well, a number that is involved or they have actually joined the administration sector under the human and social services area. Okay, under the education services, so if you like to interact with kids, with students, with learners, okay, and you find that you have a natural flair to nurture, well, then we do have students that have graduated and have been, have explored the educational services as part of their career. Now, the thing is, you need to know that psychology is everywhere in many, many areas. And that is why, our students, okay, they have really a wide range of choice of which area that they want to go to with our diploma program. Right? So we have students who have actually gone to be an early childhood educator, or even those who have actually gone on to be a special needs teacher, for example, and some even have gone into sports and coaching. Okay. The other area is, of course, in research. A lot of our students as well who are very much interested in the areas of research, they have gone to be research analysts or research assistants in very widely known and established organizations. Okay, places like Singapore Police Force or even the Ministry of Education. These are some of the organizations that our students have actually gone to be working at, right? Right, so as mentioned, for those who have actually graduated with our diploma, they have gone to be a parent counselor, okay, a program executive, social work assistant, school health executive, youth work and care staff. Now, take note that this is with the diploma, just with the diploma certificate. They have actually gone ahead to be in all these very meaningful jobs. Right. In the education services with a diploma, you can be a psychology assistant, student support assistant, early childhood educator, the learning and support associate that really works with students with learning disabilities and challenges, student care teacher, program therapist, and of course, special education teacher. All right. In the research area, like I mentioned early on, they have actually gone to be research assistants or public relations executive. Okay, so this is one of our alumni, Rachel K, who has gone to be a research assistant as well. And according to her, she has actually quoted, she said that students in our diploma program are encouraged to think outside the box and to be critical of what was taught. Because across all the modules that we offer in our diploma, we create opportunities for our students to, to apply things and theories that they have learned via group assignments or even in, collaborations with industry partners as well. All right. So with all these things, we also aim to keep our students relevant in terms of the knowledge. All right. We also want to equip them with a competitive advantage above and beyond others. Okay. Now, with higher degrees, if some of you may have the plan or may have planned to actually further your studies to get higher degrees, for students who have actually gone to further their studies and earn a higher degree, they can, right after graduation, they can be a psychologist. Of course, a psychologist will require you to have a master's degree. Okay, for bachelor's degree and all that, they can, be a child protection officer, counselor, behavior therapist, autism coach, educator, all right, social worker, research officer, as well as a research coordinator. All right. So, of course, we have a lot of our students who have the intention to further their studies, but in today's landscape, we see a lot of our students also who actually enter the workforce after graduating with a diploma, because they aim to really get the experience in the job sector that they are very much interested in, and that itself will give them an edge beyond compared to other people who have not have any experience in that particular job area. Okay. All right. So I think that's a very short and brief information about our diploma program, and it's time now to really get you to explore the next psychological phenomenon, which is called the Mcgurk effect. Okay, so I'm going to explain what Mcgurk effect is later on, but before that, right, I'm going to let you watch a video on Mcgurk effect, and I would like you, okay, to pay close attention to what is being instructed in the video and do participate, all right, in the video itself. Okay, so let's watch this video.
Is it possible to trick your ears with a visual illusion? We're going to do this with help from Gunther, a technician at NTI and our workmate. Bar, bar, bar. What you probably heard was bar, 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 which is correct. But what do you hear now? Bar, bar, bar. If you heard far, 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 you are wrong. In fact, the audio didn't change in between the two videos. Bar, bar, bar. What you hear depends on what you're seeing. If you now alternate between the two videos, you'll hear how it changes. Bar, 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 bar. This effect is called the Mcgurk effect. It shows how visuals alter what we hear. A special thanks to Gunther, who made this video enjoyable and educational, using his hidden talents. natural photogenic complexion, and monosyllabic pronouncement abilities.
Okay, so that was the Mcgurk effect, right? So what Mcgurk effect is actually a perceptual phenomenon that demonstrate an interaction between hearing and vision, okay, in speech perception. So what you see is exactly what you hear, and that's why when you look at the two different sides of the screen, you can expect to hear different sounds even though the audio didn't change at all. And that was affected by what you actually see from the movement of the lips, for example. So this illusion occurs when the auditory component of one sound is paired with the visual component of another sound. And that's why you hear different sounds. Okay, so this again will be another phenomenon that we will cover in one of our modules in the diploma program. All right. Okay, great. So now it is time to invite Carrie, our Psych alumni, to really to share with all of you her experience when she was back studying in our diploma program. Okay, Carrie, please.
Thanks, Mr. Izzat. So let me just share my screen. Guys, give me a minute. Okay, yeah, you guys should be able to see my screen. So thanks everyone for having me. I just wanted to share a little bit more with you guys about what it was like for me at PP during my time there doing a diploma in psychology. So let's dive right in. So I entered via the EAE route in 2016. So the reason why I applied for EAE is mainly because I've always been very actively involved in community service when I was in secondary school. So I always knew I wanted to do something related to people and societies and communities. So I went through the whole EAE process of the write-ups as well as the different interviews and the aptitude tests, which I'm sure some of you here have also been through. And I was then enrolled in academic year 2017-18. So these are just some photos from our freshman orientation of that year. So to delve a little bit more into my school life, I actually had a very active school life when I was in TP. So in my first year, I joined a MC's club. So you can see it's a very big club where you're actually given opportunities to host within TP. So I was also able to host big events like open house and other community events itself. I was also part of the school ambassadors clubs in my second and third year, and I served as the president of the club in the third year. So this is us basically hosting different VIPs that come and go and the different events that happen in school as well. I was also very involved in media representation, something similar to this. So this was a very nice opportunity given to me by Temasek Poly to film a video for their EAE campaign, I think 2 years back. And I was also able to reach out to different students like yourselves to also talk a little bit more about TP and psychology. And I was also very actively involved in the diploma matters. So this is an event done by our very own psychology studies interest group. And it was with the Singapore Children's Society. So you get a lot of opportunities like this to kind of apply what you learn in school and you translate that into, you know, volunteer work or like different activities and projects. So I had a very fun curricular life, if you would. And I also had a very fulfilling academic life in school as well. So I liked what Mr. Izzat said earlier, where, you know, you need a very, very strong foundation in terms of research to kind of not necessarily do well, but it is everywhere. Research is everywhere in psychology. And with TP's foundation, I was kind of able to spring out and explore different subjects that I was very passionate about. So these are just some of the more reputable research studies that I've done. So I started with my study on government narratives on racial equality, where it got the highest commendment at Singapore Psychological Society Students' Research Awards in 2019. And I was also able to work with different industry partners like IMDA and a research study on parental mediational strategies on children's digital literacy. And I also worked with NTUC Food Fair to explore the use of behavioral insights in hawker centers to promote returning your tray as well as healthy eating behavior. So I really loved about all of these was that these topics were selected by us, like my project group. So you really get to explore into an area where you were very passionate about and look from this kind of perspective of what's a very objective way to kind of improve the situation that they're in. So research was easily one of my favorite things when I was in TP as well. I was also given a student internship program, as all students are in Temasek Poly. So I did my internship with Black Box Research, and they are a local market research firm in Singapore. So they do a lot of applied research. They basically work with clients to kind of, like I said, explore the situation and find out how we can do better. And I was part of the public policy department. So this is a picture of my entire department at Deepavali celebrating over lunch. So I got to work with many big clients, and what I love about that working with government clients is that you walk past like the other day I was walking past the MRT and I saw a poster of an initiative by a government agency that I did when I was an intern there. And you see, and you just kind of feel really proud, like, oh, that's your work. So that was really, really fun for me. And I spent about 4 months there. And it was really the first time you get to apply your learnings into a more work life, real life setting and see how it applies in, to everything that you do. So afterwards, I then graduated in 2020 and I took a gap year in market research and consultancy, which I'll talk about later on. And currently I'm in NTU Psychology. I just finished my first semester. And I'm also very actively involved in Singapore Psychological Society. So I'm currently a writer for their magazine publications. And I'm also an event director at their youth wing. So that's quite fun. It gives me an opportunity to kind of reach out to more students like yourself as well as the psych community in Singapore. So yeah, I did quite a lot after I graduated from Temasek Poly. So maybe diving a little bit more into my entering the industry and what I did as a market researcher. So it started really with my internship at Black Box Research. So the best thing there that I really liked about working at Black Box is that it's a very tight-knit team. So I was actually able to draw a lot on my networks and connections. So when I left the company after my internship ended, I was actually still being pulled in for different freelance opportunities because they would be like, oh, I need someone for like a 2-week job. Can you do it? And eventually, as these individuals leave and hop over to different companies, I kind of go along with them to do other freelance tasks. And I was able to kind of string up this little network of different market researchers and freelancers. And this was really how I was able to build my portfolio at a very early time. So afterwards, when I graduated with the portfolio I had, I was actually able to self-source my own projects and work independently. So I was kind of like self-employed for a good part of the gap year, especially with COVID hitting. So it created a lot of stability for me. And I was also able to work with many, many different brands, like from startups to MNCs. And I had a wide range of projects. I was working on US potato farms for a period, and then it was local bakeries in Singapore. So I think that was what I loved about market research. You really get to expand your horizons and explore all these different industries that you don't really know about. And it's a really fun thing. And afterwards, in May of last year, that was when I finally jumped into consultancy with a firm known as Spire Research and Consulting. So my position in this company was also gotten through my string of networks from that period of time of interning and freelancing. So my networks really came in handy, and that was how I was able to enter the industry and really broaden my horizons in that sense. So in terms of what I do as a market researcher, I'm sure most of you here come in with the idea of, pursuing mental health or clinical psychology. So this is very different. So I like to show people this graph. So a small portion of the startup project goes into designing the research, and then you spend like a month trying to do fieldwork and getting people to do your survey. And then the fun part is that 10% of research implications where you look into the data and you try and find out what you can do to make the situation better or what's your game plan from now on. And then the rest of it is making really, really cute graphs because part of market research is a lot about data visualization, and you tell stories through your data to kind of come up with a sense of, okay, what's next, what can be done, and what do we expect? So I make a lot of cute graphs at work, essentially. And something that I think I also learned, working from internship all the way until now, which I'm sure most of you will also learn, is client management. And this is something that my supervisor had to teach me because I think as a student, you are so eager to just submit everything that you get on time. And then my supervisor would be like, no, you need to manage the client. You can't do it too quickly. You can't do it too slowly. So that was quite new for me. And eventually you pick it up, it becomes second nature. Yeah. So I think most of you are wondering, like I said, you come from the perspective of, mental health, social work, or even clinical psychology. So what has business got to do with psychology? And I think Mr. Izzat said earlier, psychology is everywhere, and it's true. So these were like kind of like the 3 big things that I applied into my job of like business and consultancy. First is research design. I think when you go into the workforce, especially in this area of research and business, a lot of the moves that you make have to be strategically planned and backed by evidence. So research design is really, really important. And you will learn a lot more about it when you join TP Psychology. But you need to have a very good research design to make sure that your results are accurate. And there's also critical thinking and application, especially as a psychologist, as a poly student even, I feel you're kind of taught to think outside the box. You know, don't just look at this theory on its own in isolation, but how does it apply to everything else that you do in life? And lastly, understanding human psychology and behavioral economics was a very, very big value add for me, myself. Especially I think for psychology students, when we know a lot more about how the human mind works and how we can kind of tweak our results to it, yeah, it's a very big added advantage as compared to, you know, students who mainly don't have that much perspective in this sense. So throughout all these experiences, I was really able to build my portfolio throughout, you know, different clients. I was working with B2B companies and B2C companies. And I think for someone my age, it's something that I'm really proud of. I was also able to really explore. I think even business on its own is a really huge industry. So I was kind of able to explore, what side of business I want to do. Do I want to venture into this specific industry? And I was also able to apply psychology directly into what I was doing. So that was one of my favorite things. You know, like I said, applying your psych knowledge and then seeing it happen in real life and flourishing into something concrete. I think that was one of the best feelings I had throughout my year working as a consultant. Yeah. So I just have some tips for you guys before I end off. Firstly, beware of statistics. So, you know, like I said, research really is everywhere, and statistics can be quite a daunting subject for most of us, I feel. I was quite overwhelmed as well, but you eventually learn to pick up and become second nature. So don't be too afraid of statistics. You don't have to love it, but just try not to hate it. Explore the field. Because when I was your age, I went into TP psychology thinking I wanted to do counseling psychology. And here I am now in a totally different field. So psychology is a huge field, it's everywhere. So really take the time, don't rush, and try and figure out what you want to do and what you want to specialize in. And definitely apply your learnings, because that's how you're going to maximize everything you learn in the classroom, and you can use it on like your friends, like those really cool videos that you're watching just now. You can definitely like mimic all these kind of stuff on your friends, and that's how you kind of maximize your learning. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Hey, great. Thanks, Terry, for the insightful sharing. And I'm really glad you cannot believe, as a lecturer, it's very heartening for me to know that students like you who have actually been through the 3 years program in our course have actually really learned a lot and applied the knowledge that you have learned in our diploma program. And I'm glad that you actually, besides all studies, right, you have actually been very active in the extracurricular activities in school. And it's wonderful that you are now doing something that you enjoy. But I have a very important question for you though. Do you miss diploma in psychology studies?
Yes, a lot. Every day, every time I'm in NTU now, so every time I go to class, I think about, I remember 3 years ago when I first started foundation psychology, and I would reflect on that because it was such a fun time for me.
Right. Yeah, and I think I agree with you that you know, the thing about our diploma program is we cover a broad areas of psychology to allow our students to explore, right, the field, like what you mentioned. And again, like what you mentioned, you joined the diploma thinking that you want to explore counseling, but yet now you're doing it in another area that you didn't know you were interested in, for example. So I think that that really helps as well. All right, thanks, Kerry, for the sharing. Please stay on for the Q&A. So I would like at this point of time to invite our guests to send your questions to our Q&A moderator directly via the chat. All right, so that we can address those questions during the Q&A now. All right, so I have a few questions coming in. Okay, all right, so I think the first question, okay, thank you for your questions, first of all. So one of the questions asked about student, I mentioned something about students joining the police force after the course. May I know what occupation in the police force exactly did this student become? Okay, so what I was referring to was actually joining the police force in their student internship program, the SIP, all right, where they were there for about 16 weeks. Right, in the police force, in the Singapore Police Force, students take on the role as research assistants, where they were attached to the research department in that particular organization. And what they do is they really conduct research, they do program evaluation on programs that they actually implement internally, all right, among the cadets, or even with industry partners as well, right? So I think but we do have students who are also very much interested to join the Singapore Police Force. So if you're thinking what prospective kind of jobs that you can expect if you want to join the Singapore Police Force, being attached to the research department will be one of those. All right, so thank you for your question. Okay, so Carrie, we have a question for you. So is there a lot of writing involved in this diploma?
Yes, there is a lot of writing that you guys have to be prepared for, but I think TP has a module to kind of prepare you for that in your first semester already. So it does take some adjustment time to get used to like the different formats and like the different ways you have to cite your sources. But like I said, it becomes second nature because you do it so much. But yes, there is a lot of writing. You write a lot of reports and you write a lot of research reports as well. So that's something you guys have to prepare for.
Right, thank you for that. Thanks for that particular question. Okay, next question. Should we choose the JC path or diploma path to study psychology in the university? Now, for this, to enter university, of course, you need a good GPA. All right, it doesn't matter whether you're from JC or Poly, you need to have good results, like a high GPA to enter the university, right? So whether or not you want to join JC or Polytechnic, it really depends on your preference, whether you prefer the JC life or you prefer the Polytechnic life. Okay, so again, everyone has their own preferences, but I think most importantly, you need to do well in your studies, regardless in JC or Polytechnic, to be able to enter the university. Yeah, okay, thank you for your question. Carrie, another question for you. How difficult or challenging is the diploma? Is it competitive or is there a lot of rote learning?
I would say that maybe in my batch, there was definitely some sort of competition. And I think naturally it happens, right? Especially when you are surrounded around other people. But I think because psychology is so small, it became a very small, tight-knit community as well. So it was definitely challenging if you're talking about the amount of content you have to study. And that is something that, like I said, you really get used to it. Like, I think personally for me as well, I struggled quite a lot with exactly how demanding the modules were for certain semesters. And I mean, I'm quite bad at planning my time. You guys can see I have so many CCAs and I was like working part-time. So if you have good time management, you should be fine. And it is a little bit competitive, but I think, the community itself is so tight-knit that it becomes a very close family kind of competitive and not like cutthroat kind of competitive, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, I think adding on to that, yes, I mean, everywhere there will be competition. And I think a little bit of competition is very healthy for all of us to strive, right, and try harder. And I think our site community, the students are really very close to one another. They really like a family, right? And our lecturers are always there to be there whenever they need our help and advice. So I think to us, our diploma program, I feel that everyone really plays a very important role, and we are like just family to one another, right? Okay. So another question that came in: how many percentage of your diploma holders get into the local university? All right, and what is the quota? Okay, so I think from previous past few cohorts, the percentage of our graduates who have actually entered the local university will be around 60 to 70%. But of course, it varies per cohort, right? It depends on the cohort every single year. All right. For the quota, I'm not able to advise you because this is really depend on the university's quota. All right. But I think on the whole, about 60 to 70% of our graduates did apply to enter the local university and got accepted for that. All right. Okay. Thank you for your question. Next question to Carrie. How can one build their portfolio for the early admissions exercise?
Yeah, that's a really good question, especially because I mean, I think in psychology, there's not much you can do to a certain extent. So to me, actually what I did was I volunteered a lot because I think in that headspace, I wanted to do something related to communities and social work. And that was how I kind of built my portfolio. But if, you know, that's not something you can do, then reading, I feel reading up on what psychology is and the more milestone kind of experiments, it shows the interviewer that you are prepared and that you know what you want coming in and that you can answer their questions as well. And I think definitely be very enthusiastic about why you want to join psychology and be very true to that reason as well, because you know it's definitely something that can be seen. And with a course like psychology, you really need that passion to kind of help you push through all the workload as well.
Yes, I agree with you. I think for those of you who intend to apply via the EAE, I think what we look up more is really your dedication and your strong passion in psychology, all right? And really that can really be shown when we actually talk with you in regards to the application as well, all right? Okay, let's see whether there's any more questions before we wrap up. Let's see, okay. Right. Again, thank you for your question. I have one question that was sent to me directly, and I think this was from Jane. She wanted to know more about a clinical psychologist. Okay, so for this one, as you know, to be a clinical psychologist, you need to have at least a master's degree and to be a licensed clinical psychologist to be able to practice in Singapore. All right. So for our students who are very much interested to or aspire to be one, of course, they will need to further their studies like what Carrie is doing right now, going ahead with the degree and then further their studies in master's degree and perhaps a doctorate as well, right, to be a clinical psychologist. Now, the clinical psychologist can be in different areas, whether it's in the mental health areas or in working with in the special needs sector as well. So you can also explore which area if you want to actually be a clinical psychologist as well, right? So I think that's for the minimum requirement is actually at least a master's degree. Okay, right? Let's see whether we have any more questions. Yes, one more question for you, Carrie. What type of work is done the most, whether it's research, group work, or individual projects?
Yeah, I think everything is kind of spaced out quite well. So I think within modules itself, you will have your own group project per module, usually, and then you have an individual assignment and then you have some sort of test or exam. So actually the work is quite distributed in that sense. As for research, we usually take it on as modules of their own. So you probably expect to do maybe one research module per semester. I think maybe Mr. Izzat, you have more clarity on this, but in my experience, it was about one research module per semester. Yeah.
Yes, correct. So we do have at least one research module every semester, and I think students really we would want them to be engaged in a lot of applied kind of work in terms of group assignments, and of course every module depends. It varies across different modules, but most of our modules or subjects will require students to take on individual assignments like reports and and also group assignments. A lot of presentations going to be done by students so that they can be more confident when they're doing public speaking as well, right? And projects are really very collaborative in nature because we want them to really work on real life projects with industry partners so that the deliverables are very meaningful and impactful for the community, all right? Okay, thank you for your question. All right, so we have come to the end of our sharing for this afternoon. And thank you all again for joining us in today's talk. And for those of you, right, if you want to really find out more about our diploma program, you can visit our social media sites. Okay, so later on okay, so this is, if you can see the screen, you can visit our Psych Socials page on Instagram and Telegram channel if you would like to find out more about the diploma program. All right. So I think, yes, so that wraps up our sharing this afternoon. Thank you again, Carrie, for being with us today and sharing with the rest of our guests this afternoon. All right. And also to our guests, thank you again for taking the time. And we, on behalf of the Temasek Polytechnic and the diploma team, we look forward to really seeing you in Temasek Polytechnic or even in our diploma program. So really all the best to you and good luck for those of you who are awaiting your O-level results. And have a good afternoon ahead. Take care and keep safe. Bye, everyone.